You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. It would appear that former IBF bantamweight champion Sharita Medaf has been dropped from the IBF rankings after losing her title this past July. It is the first time the IBF has dropped a champion out of the rankings after a single loss. Metcalf is only ranked by the WBC, to which Sharita responded, "Some things need to be explained. They're not even responding to my team. Dirty work in the game." This is cause for concern when you consider that Canelo Alvarez just lost to Terence Crawford, but both the WBC and the WBO still rate him at number 1. He's still there. He was a champion with both organizations, like Sharita was a champion with the IBF. So why would they have made the decision to drop her from their rankings completely?
Isn't that a bit extreme?
Now, they don't have to rank her at number 1 per se, but she should be somewhere in there in the top 10. So for her to drop off completely, to not be there at all...
I mean, she fought earlier this year. She has another fight on schedule. She used to hold a title with them, so it seems extreme that they would drop her from their rankings altogether.
She has a fight coming up against unbeaten Crystal Rosado from the island of Puerto Rico in a little over 2 weeks' time on the 18th of this month, scheduled for 8 rounds in the women's bantamweight division. Her opportunity to rebound off the loss to Sharnika Johnson and show that she's still got it. Can she? This is not an ordinary 8-rounder. This is going to be for 8 3-minute rounds.
So you have to wonder if that favors the noticeably older fighter in Sharita Medaf, who is 17 years older than Crystal Rosado.
Both fighters are orthodox fighters, but Sharita is noticeably taller and longer, standing in at 5'7" to Crystal, who is a more modest 5'3". And if you've seen Sharita in action, you'll know she's an outboxer. She's a mover. Likes to use the ring, move lateral, stick the jab out there to fend off an oncoming opponent. But with that added minute in each round, does that help her or does that help Crystal? Will Sharita be able to shake and bake a noticeably younger fighter with more time in the round and much more time in the fight?
On those 40-year-old legs, she's going to have to beat those feet. Sharita is the noticeably more experienced fighter of the two, with many more pro fights in the bank, more than Crystal, but Crystal is younger and fresher, in effect, perhaps faster.
I've seen this aesthetic before. It's going to be up to young Crystal Rosado to crash the pocket, get inside, and do the business. Whereas Sharita, for her, it's the opposite. She's got to stick and move and stay on the outside of Crystal Rosado, not engage within close quarters.
Don't give her what she wants. Don't trade with her.
A fascinating fight and a contrast of styles, an acid test for Crystal Rosado, and a chance for Sharita to show that she's still got it.
Set to go down a little over 2 weeks from now on the 18th on the undercard of Lourdes Juarez versus Jessica Niri Plata. And what's going to be a great card, some great fights.
But this is just me being honest. I don't know that added minute in each round does Sharita Medaf any favors, because she is the noticeably older fighter. She is coming off a loss. We'll see how she handles it. And as far as the IBF making a decision to drop her from their rankings completely, I don't agree with that. I think it's a bit extreme. A former champion should get better treatment from an organization than that.
Other champions have. It's a professional courtesy.
In men's junior middleweight news, newly crowned WBA champion Abbas Baraou waits to hear back from Xander Zayas on world title unification. Before the result was announced, WBO champion Xander Zayas entered the ring to congratulate Abbas Baraou on his stunning 12-round decision win over a then unbeaten Ioannis Tellez this past August. 5 weeks later, the hard-changing junior middleweight is officially WBA world champion as a byproduct of Terence Crawford's legacy-enhancing pursuit of Canelo Alvarez, and dynamics around him have quickly shifted.
Of course they have. Now that Abbas Baraou is a WBA champion, he has something that someone else might want. Abbas Baraou, a well-schooled amateur who, to a lot of people, might have seemed like more trouble than he's worth and a hot potato. Well, he's a world champion now. So anyone who aspires to unify this division and become its undisputed champion now has to deal with Abbas Baraou, among some others.
Baraou has become a hot commodity in a weight class without a bona fide number one. This was an unlikely possible event last summer when Baraou outpointed Macaulay McGowan to defend his EBU title in a Bolton hotel integrated within their 28,000-seater football stadium. Yet the 30-year-old Berlin resident, who has trained stateside for 2 years and is well connected within boxing circles, reiterates his eagerness not to rest on his laurels as the year steadily draws to a close. It's not in his nature, yet having won on a plus 600 betting underdog after a 14-month layoff on away soil in Orlando, Florida, against the then unbeaten Tellez, it's time to capitalize on that newfound momentum. Xander Zayas, 22-0 with 13 KOs, has been open about wanting to round out a memorable year with a title defense in Puerto Rico after outpointing Jorge Garcia Perez this past July for a historic world title win. That disciplined, one-sided display saw the Florida-based talent become the sport's youngest world champion, male or female, in boxing today, 6 weeks shy of his 23rd birthday. WBC interim champion Virgil Ortiz opted to face Erickson Lubricant in a DAZN headliner on November 8th rather than acquiesce to the new champion's demands for an away title opportunity. Zayas is understood to have personally rejected a potential in-house matchup with longtime welterweight contender Giovanni Santillan, who is ranked number 9 with the WBO and number 10 with the IBF in a new weight class.
Giovanni really isn't the biggest of welterweights. At junior middle, he would seem even smaller. He'd seem a small fry next to a Xander Zayas. If that fight would have happened, I've no doubts that Xander would have beat him wide. He would have beat him wide on the cards.
The story is that Xander Zayas wants Abbas Baraou, and Abbas Baraou wants Xander. We've sparred many times, so I know Xander very well. He and his whole team are good people, said congratulations, and then went for a face-off. It'd be great for that fight. I'm up for it, Baraou told The Ring when asked about their in-ring interaction last month. After the face-off, we reached out right away to Top Rank. I let my manager, Paul Gibson, do all that stuff until something is serious or finalized. Then we talked about it. Nothing has come back yet, so to hear that our fight is going forward for December surprises me, but I'm here for it. If that speculation is not serious, I'll move forward because I'm not planning to wait. I'm in this position and I want to continue improving myself. Currently, Abbas Baraou is said to be a network and promotional free agent. He's between promoters right now, so if you talk about a Zayas fight, it would have to be a fight that Top Rank pays for, but I don't think Top Rank are in a position to pay for that fight right now, to make that fight right now. That's not Xander wasting Abbas Baraou's time.
I don't think Xander's giving him the runaround or wasting his time. I think that Xander genuinely wants that fight, but this is above Xander's head.
It's above his tax bracket. Ultimately, it's Top Rank that has to make it happen, and Top Rank are between broadcasters right now. We've been hearing for weeks and months that they're talking to multiple broadcasters, but they've yet to announce a relationship with anyone. Until they do, it's hard to imagine Xander in a unification match anytime in the near future. December, January, in Puerto Rico or somewhere else, until Top Rank announces when they're coming back and who they're coming back with. Those talks are going to be put on hold.
Though I won't begrudge him his enthusiasm and his ambition that so soon after having become a champion, he doesn't want an easy layup, he wants a unification match. That's more than we can say for Sebastian Fundora.
Sebastian doesn't want to unify shit. He doesn't want to fight Bakram, and I don't really think he wants to fight Xander either. I anticipate that after Sebastian's next fight, he's gonna move up.
He doesn't want to unify shit, but Xander does. It's news to me that both Xander Zayas and Abbas Baraou have sparred with each other many times before. That explains their mutual interest in facing each other under the hot lights. Abbas knows Xander, and Xander knows Abbas.
How would a fight between Abbas Baraou and Xander Zayas play out? Well, I've said this before. There would be shades of the Baraou versus Tellez fight and shades of the Zayas versus Perez fight. The fights that both those guys just had, a fight between them would be similar to those fights, but at a higher level.
Because Abbas Baraou is better than Jorge Perez and Xander Zayas is better than Ioannis Tellez.
Xander Zayas, who is a little taller and a little longer than Abbas Baraou, and you know what he's going to do. He's going to get on the good foot, shake and bake, move and punch. Whereas Abbas, he's a lot more straightforward. He's going to try to crash the pocket, throw combinations, and wear the guy out, wear him down. The virtue of an Abbas Baraou, in spite of his approach being so simple, is that he is persistent, that maybe you can deal with him in the opening stanza, but as the fight progresses and the damage starts to set in, and you start getting tired, he might start landing punches, and you might start to unravel.
And thus, even if Abbas Barou's approach seems simple and easy to understand, that doesn't mean it's easy to work around if you're in the ring with him.
Xander is the more nuanced fighter of the two. The mover, the jabber, the boxer. Though not big on power, there's not much chance that Xander stops Abbas Baraou. I don't think. The best that he can do is win on the cards, because I don't think he knocks him out. Xander's got a lot of good qualities, a lot of good things working for him, but he's not a knockout merchant. It's a fascinating fight. A 50-50 fight, in my opinion, and one of the better fights that you can hope to make in today's junior middleweight division. And what a breath of fresh air that at least some effort is going into unifications at junior middle, that at least they're talking, at least they're trying.
Over to the ongoing story and what details have been divulged about Dana White's Zuffa boxing, his plan: a minimum of 12 events per year on Paramount.
That's approximately one fight per month starting in January. A strong presence in the United States is its initial goal.
Oh, that's what I expected. I didn't expect that Dana's going to start doing shows in the UK or Australia, Mexico, the Far East.
Similar to the UFC Contender Series, also citing Tuesday night fights as an inspiration.
That's what I've been telling you. They're going to be working with primarily mid-tier fighters.
Working to sign 400 to 450 boxers to a stable, accounting for an estimated 2% of overall active boxers around the world. You're talking about anywhere in between 18 to 20,000 active boxers. Dana White aspires to sign 450 of them, which is hardly enough to run everybody out of business. He's not going to do that.
Less weight classes, which we also talked about. I remember reading months ago that they might focus on the traditional 8.
One champion per division, an element that is getting a lot of attention, the most of it, that Zuffa Boxing will essentially have their own belt that their fighters fight for. They're not going to recognize other sanctioning body belts, save the Ring magazine, and they will also include women's boxing, which I'm very excited about.
You have to give Dana White this much. He saw the potential in women combatants before a lot of people in boxing. Before the big boxing boom, the renaissance of women's boxing, Dana White had plenty of girls in the octagon, in the cage, the big boom of Ronda Rousey. So maybe he can do that for some girls in boxing.
I had hoped that his Zuffa Boxing would allow female fighters to participate in this promotion, and it would seem they're going to, but alas, there are still those out there forecasting doom and gloom and painting Dana White out to be the villain
so that they can seem the hero.
Guy we talked about before on the channel, Twitter account that goes by the name How Boxing Works. Boxers should be very worried about what just happened. You won't be able to win the Ring magazine belt unless you sign to Dana's slave contract.
And where did you read that? Or did you make it up yourself? Because I haven't seen that anywhere.
It's not written anywhere that the Ring magazine title will only be contested for by Zuffa boxers. What is being said is the only belt Dana will recognize is the Ring magazine title. And Ring magazine will rank some of Dana's boxers, but that doesn't mean they're going to exclude everybody else. What you can look at this as is a bridge.
The Ring Magazine title will bridge the gap between the guys who box under Zuffa and everybody else. And I'm going to assume that because Zuffa boxing is going to be in a tournament format where fighters climb up the ranks and eventually graduate to big Ring Magazine cards, this is where those Zuffa boxers could end up boxing other boxers that operate outside of the sphere, but that's after a while. That's after some time. After those Zuffa boxers do what they do within that promotion as they graduate and ascend. Then they can start fighting for Ring Magazine titles. But the idea that nobody but the Zuffa boys are going to be able to box for it...
Oh yeah, that's bullshit. Because Zuffa's not going to have the same 17 weight classes that regular boxing has. And Ring Magazine isn't about to start stripping their existing champions. The idea that nobody but Dana's boys are going to get to fight for the Ring Magazine title is a fabrication of the imagination. Nobody said that. You made it up.
You're trying your best to vilify Dana White, make him out to be the villain so that you can seem the hero. What it reminds me of.
Queers for Palestine.
All the performative activism you've been seeing on college campuses around the country from those with the common sense of a box of rocks.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. All that activism from those who would so easily be tossed off a roof by the same Palestinians they claim to be fighting for. That's what this reminds me of.
How?
Before you spend so much time trying to make Dana White out to be the villain, realize that the villains have been here the whole time. That his entry into the sport of boxing can't be any worse than what you've already been getting.
Because things were so cookie crunchy before Dana White got here? Because Dana White is the biggest threat to boxing today? What do you live under a rock, or are you just stupid?
All this really is a pocket, a corner within the boxing sphere that operates as an alternative to going through the alphabets. The alphabet organizations like the WBC, like the WBA, and all of their chicanery.
The ones that'll have you fight in eliminator after eliminator, paying sanctioning fee after sanctioning fee, just so that when the time comes for you to fight for a title, they don't order it.
Sulaiman Sissoko is the mandatory challenger to Mario Barrios. What's the ETA on that order? When are they going to order that fight? And why did that same WBC leave Kenya Enriquez in limbo for 3 years without ordering her title shot? Why did they just do the same thing at flyweight?
They did it to her 2 times.
At 2 separate weights, you act like before Dana White got here, everything was perfect and operating smoothly, that he's the bad guy. There are plenty of bad guys to go around.
There have been plenty of bad guys in the sport of boxing, all without Dana White. And for you,
this is just performative activism. You only want to make him out to be the villain so that you can seem the hero, the activist, the voice of reason.
Spare me your grandstanding.
Spare me your doomsday scenarios and theatrics. Everything that comes out of these kids' mouth has more to do with their own overactive imaginations than what's actually going on.